Thanks for choosing to watch the video. In this one, we're doing something a little bit different. It's the start, hopefully, of my Perch Fishing Master series, where for a change, I'm going behind the camera and I'm going to go out on the bank with some of the very best perch fishermen around to pick their brains and bring you the most valuable content that I can. I'm going to tag along with them. They think they're going to have a nice little bit of fishing, but in reality, we're going to absolutely punish them with questions. We want to know everything. Trust me, listen carefully, because this is going to be absolute gold. We're about to be blessed with perch fishing royalty. And we're kicking off with a bit of a local legend, Sam Delasalle. Now this lad is an absolute perch catching machine. He fishes for carp and mud pigs a bit through the summer, but when it comes to winter and those temperatures drop, he's out there catching perch, and boy does he catch them. So definitely this one is less about me, it's more about just getting the best information from the best anglers, delivering it to you, and hopefully it will help you improve your perch fishing. Time to get out there, pick his brains. I've got a feeling this is going to be a bit special. Right, okay, so it's my job to give you a bit of a grilling. Sam, we want to know everything. Why don't you start by telling us about the last 2 weeks? What's going on?
Well, with work and the times changing from darker at night, you're very limited time on the bank. So I was starting to target the river after work. Generally getting an hour, maybe two, fishing into dark. And then the last 2 days I have been fishing from dark into light, and to be fair, it's been actually really good.
It weren't all that straightforward, was it? You had to put in a bit of leg weight, but right,
oh, yeah.
We know how punishing the river can be.
It's taken me 2 weeks to locate any fish. Well, the first few days I had 2 pike roughly that big for probably 3-4 sessions, when some of the conditions have been ideal. But obviously just persevering and being there at the right sort of times, as I've finally worked out where they was hiding and the different ways to catch them. I've upped my weight.
Yeah, you said this morning you think that made a difference. Started on what, 5 gram, and you've stepped up. You're fishing like a cheb rig, right? Yeah,
so I'm fishing a cheb. I did start with 5 grams, and I was actually fishing against the weed. Sorry, I thought that was a take then. I was fishing, found the weed bed, and I was casting to the weed bed and pulling it back through, trying to intercept the fish in the channels. But I think with the 5 gram, I think it was a bit too light, and as I was pulling it through, it wasn't falling down quick enough. I don't think it was puffing up the silt, because you're only going to get a certain amount of time between the weed that's in the river, and I think just stepping up to a 7 gram completely changed the action, the puff of the silt, and started catching fish. I changed the rod. I've changed to a more backbone rod. So it's still got a sense.
That just help you work the lure a bit more, does it?
Yeah, I can feel a lot more, but then I'm also setting the hook a lot harder, as I normally would with a lighter rod. Obviously, these are designed for zander fishing, so they're really stiff through the backbone, but still got the sensitive tip, and I can feel everything without the rod bending too much.
You mentioned the conditions earlier. How would you describe the conditions over the last couple of weeks? Obviously we're at the end of November, no, middle of November, aren't we?
Yeah, so it's been hit and miss. We have had the bright days, and we've recently had a few frosts, which is going to boost fishing, I think, by miles, which is what we need.
Yeah.
just to get the fish
Yeah,
where
'cause
they
it's
need to
It's been
be.
fairly mild, isn't it? Mild
Yeah.
and dry. But you've been mainly doing dawn and dusk, right?
Yeah, so
avoiding the middle of the day anyway.
Yeah, so I'm not fishing middle of the day.
And you've been having them both at dawn and dusk.
Yeah, so just obviously from dark into light, and then from light into dark.
Do you think you'll be getting them in the middle of the day, even if you were fishing then?
I don't think I would, to be fair.
No.
I think the first perch I had, it was just the conditions were perfect. It was just before the light started to go down, and I think that had a massive part. On the days that it has been bright, I did try, but nothing happened. But this was part of the whole 2 weeks. It's just been getting the conditions correct, and it all coming together to actually find these fish and catch them. It's not been easy by any stretch.
And you've been fishing sort of almost like you are now. Obviously, you're just winding the lure in there, but
Yeah.
you're fishing quite slow.
Yeah, so I'm fishing slow. I'm casting out just in front of the weed bed of this, on the other side of the bank, letting it settle, and I can feel through the line, I can feel everything through the rod, and then generally I was reeling the tiniest little bit, and then I can lift over the weed with the rod tip, and then I tighten down to that, and then I know straight away I'm on the silt or the gravel was on the riverbed, and then I can start my jigging. And it just seems that the fish are by the weed, and either following it all the way through the channel, or they're sitting in the channel and just nailing it as soon as availability to get that lure in the strike zone.
You mentioned to me earlier that you use the Jika rig quite a lot, which is quite interesting. Don't see an awful lot of people using that.
I think it's a fantastic rig.
Yeah,
especially for crayfish.
How come you're not using that? What made you choose a Cheb rig?
I wanted to be closer to the bottom,
right,
because of obviously the gap between the weed. I want it puffing the silt up just to help the fish see that the lure's coming across the bottom before. I think with the Jika, it's a bit better when you're fishing over low-lying weed or low-lying debris, because it'll keep, especially with a buoyant bait, it will keep the lure just above that, where you do get the puff on the silt from the weight, but I think at the minute, I think the Cheb's definitely, with the heavier weights, definitely been the way to go, 100%. Completely changed it from.
So you think is that specific to this situation then, or is this sort of like a rig that you'll fish quite a lot, right the way through to the end of the season?
The main three I would fish would be a Texas rig, a Jika rig, and a Cheb rig, and just changing between the three to suit the situation.
As you go through the winter, will you change? How will you change the way you fish as you go through winter, the end of the season?
So it depends on the pressure on the venue straight away. The more pressured, the more subtle I would try and go with the techniques, and try and just be different from everyone else. I'd slow everything right down. At the minute, I can pull this. I'm doing it slow, but I could do it a lot slower. I think they're still, where they're not shoaled up, they're spread out, and so they're not as active as they would be as if they've shoaled the fish up already and they're ready to pounce straight away.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, as I said, they're spread out. So I think just getting the fish to take.
Generally, when it's milder, do you fish a bit quicker? Like the milder it is, I tend to fish up in the water a little bit more when it's warm.
Yeah. So you could bring it through a lot quicker.
Yeah. And slow it all down.
Yeah, because then they're not hard on the bottom.
No.
Obviously, like I said, the fish I've been catching have been around the weed, so they're not in and around the boats. They're not in the structures yet. They're not in the locks or the weirs that I've been trying. They're still out into open water.
Okay.
A few more frosts, and I think everything will slow down. Your techniques, they're slowed down, and your fishing will slow down a lot more.
So can we maybe whip that in and have a closer look at the rig and that? You show us the lure you're using, take us through that, that'd be cool.
So this is the current rig that I'm using to catch the perch in the last couple of weeks. It's just a Cheb rig on fluorocarbon, probably
breaking strains to cook fluorocarbon?
£16.
Right, okay.
At the minute there's not many pike around the places I'm fishing, and I think 16's enough to get me to bite and land a fish if I have to. But generally I still want it just in case. Obviously there's a lot of snags, is the reason why I'm weedless fishing, and the rivers in our area are full of crayfish, so it'd be silly not to use a natural sort of bait. It's a Z-Man craw, big craw. I can't remember the name of the
And it's buoyant, is it, I guess?
Yeah, so it's made of elastic.
Yeah.
So they're stretchy.
So on the bottom it's sitting
buoyant.
right up.
Yeah, so as I'm bringing it across, I'm slowly jigging it, and these the claws are standing up as well. Yeah. So obviously the perch will think it's a natural. Try and make it as natural as possible. And generally the perch hit crayfish so hard compared to
most.
The
take's been really hard.
Yeah, one fish out of the last 5 that I've caught was a bit of a strange bite, but that fish actually followed the lure right down to the near bank, and it was a slow, long take rather than the normal bang that you get from the perch. So these are the crayfish that have been doing the damage the most. In this order, this one's been catching the majority of the fish. Then I've changed to this one, and then when it's harder, and I want them to see the baits the most, I would go to this orange colour.
What affects that? Colour of the water, or?
Yeah, it could be a multiple amount of things. It could be the water colour. It could be the sky if it's bright. Obviously if the sun's not penetrating through the water, it could be a dirty canal. There could be so many.
They're quite big lures, aren't they?
Yeah, they are big.
Do you think they catch the bigger fish, the bigger lures, do you reckon?
Well, you do catch the odd small one, but I think if you use small lures, I think you'll tend to find you'll catch a lot more smaller fish before you can get to the big ones. So
you just want to hold out and get the lumps. Right?
So I do definitely think if you're trying to get a big fish, I would sacrifice catching a few fish just to be able to try and maximise your chances for a bigger fish. Like I said, with these lures and a lot of the lures on the market now, because they are stretchy and they are buoyant, they do fold so easily. So you can get tiny little wasps on these. But for me personally, going out catching 100 5-ounce, 6-ounce perch is just not for me.
Yeah.
I like the bigger fish.
You get some people that think though if you scale down and fish small, you've got more chance of locating the shoal via a wasp.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? And
then
once you've found them with a small lure, then scaling up to pick off the big ones. You don't really believe in that. No, you just go straight in big.
Yeah, I just want the specimen. Anything from £2 up for me is a specimen perch, and if you're catching £2 and up, you're doing well when you're fishing. So yeah, for me, go bigger, hold out as long as you can. Obviously, if the day pans out where you haven't caught nothing, then you could always scale down. And if you was going to scale down and it slowed down, then I would tend to fish with a smaller sort of crayfish. They're called bugs, which is you use exactly the same technique. The rigging options, everything's the same, just a smaller version. Or I would go to a TRD, just a stick bait. Again, the techniques and the rigging options exactly the same. Generally for my fishing it's 90% weedless fishing because of the condition, like the places that we fish. There's always snags on the bottom or big trees been falling in, and there's always a problem. So going in with an open jig head or an open hook
Could just be painful, can't it?
I don't want to be wasting my time.
No.
Going through, resetting up.
And also, I think if you snag up on weed with an open jig head, quite often, you know, you're buggering up 50% of your retrieves, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And obviously, with a weedless presentation, you can pull through the weed.
Yeah.
You can bump it over the fallen trees or underwater snags.
Right. So, Sam, if you had one lure, if you could only choose one lure to fish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One lure would be hard because obviously there's different techniques that you can use for different reasons. One being the venue you're fishing. If it's real snaggy, you go for a weedless. But if it was a clean bottom, somewhere I can present an open jig head really well, 100% is the Savage Gear T-tail minnow. Probably one of the best shads I've ever used, and I've caught so many monster perch on them.
So do you use quite a lot of shads and creatures, or does it literally just depend?
It
50-50? Because I use a lot of creature baits, a lot of worms, a lot of, you know, like squirms and TRD type inert baits.
Yeah,
I'm terrible with shads.
Yeah, it definitely. If I see a hell of a lot of bait fish moving,
you'll go with a shad.
And I'm not getting them, because even though I use heavy, I go in with a heavy setup. It's still a finesse style of fishing.
Of course, yeah. You're not thrashing around with it. No.
I'm not hoping that. I've slowed everything down. I'm not hoping that they're attacking and going in for the kill, so to speak. But when they are chasing and you can see a lot of bait fish moving around, then the T-tail minnow is...
T-tail minnow?
Yeah,
right, okay.
He's the one, the best shad.
Notice you ain't got bright braid on. What's your thought on that? Sometimes I know I'm using the Luminate stuff, the new stuff, really bright, so that, you know, I can see the line pick up really clearly. Yeah. Not saying you do.
Nah, see, a lot of people use the bright braid for drop shotting, or you say on your main rod you can see a take. But obviously with my finger on the rod and using the right rod, the right braid, the right line, my indication's coming from that. And using the bigger baits, I want the bigger fish, and the bigger fish get big because they eat big. So
generally through the year, what rod do you use, or does it depend on the situation?
Between 5 to 20 grams.
So you go quite heavy.
Like I said, I want to beast these fish. If I hook a big fish, I don't want any chance of losing it. So
a lot of people, they think that's quite a heavy outfit, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, big fish are big because they eat.
You just go large. You catch the tanks and you gear up for that.
Yeah, there's different
ways. Do you do finesse fishing at all? You know, like your 1 to 8 gram rods and drop shot in and go, or do you just beast it?
Nah, just straight up beast it.
Beast mode.
Like I said previously, I don't really want to be catching the smaller perch.
Nah.
If it's through the summer and it's a day of just catching, then a bit of fun. Yeah. But my main goal is to try and catch the biggest perch I can on that venue. So location's key.
Awesome,
and
mate.
Strong tackle.
And finally, what's your big secret? What is your biggest edge? You had to say, it's like, what do you think makes a difference? Maybe something you've never told anyone. I won't tell anyone, I promise.
To be honest, the biggest thing is to be on the bank. Right. You can't catch if you ain't there, for starters.
Do you think frequency?
Yeah.
I see you like me, you do a lot of short sessions, don't you?
Yeah. So obviously, like I said before, it's taken 2 weeks to locate the fish. And now I'm reaping the rewards from that. So
is that what you always do? Do you do, because with me, I think you're better off doing lots of short frequent sessions, like loads of them, rather than every 2 weeks going for a full day.
Yeah, definitely. You can see the changes on the river. You can see where you can see you can see if there's a bait fish just topped over there, and you'll notice different signs through the time you're there. And obviously, if you're there for first light, everyone knows in fishing, first light, last light is where the fish are going to be at their most active. So being there at the right time is definitely a big edge. And to help people with the fishing is slow down. Use big baits and slow down.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. What do you think the biggest mistake you see? That fishing too fast?
When you generally speak to people that are saying they're going spinning or lure fishing, it's generally too fast.
Yeah.
And yeah, through the summer you can be a bit more erratic if you're targeting the predators.
More chance of getting reaction strikes when it's warm. Yeah. But this time of year, it's slowing it down.
Slow down.
It's tempting to go a bit quick because you're trying to cover a lot of river, aren't you? So it's tempting to go fast.
Yeah. But if you put the legwork in and you put the time in and you can find where the bait fish are and stuff like that, eventually you will stumble across the fish, and that's all you need to do, and just be consistent in that.
Yeah, why fishing, and particularly perch fishing?
Well, with fishing, it's just a beautiful thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, like carping. You do quite a lot of that in the summer, don't you?
Yeah, only the last couple of years. I did stop for quite a few years, but yeah, I needed to do something at the time to get me out of a place where I was. And yeah, carp fishing changed my mentality quite a bit, to be fair. Yeah. It helped me out, and I met a lot of friends doing it. So it was really nice to have a change up, and it makes you actually look forward to coming back to lure fishing and doing something completely different.
What are the main things you like about perch fishing? It's quite nice having hardly any gear. After the carp fishing and the barrows and all that shit.
Yeah, it's nice. The best fishing by far. Yeah. You're travelling with next to nothing. You can walk miles. The fish give you savage takes for the size of the fish, and they're beautiful. They're pristine. A lot of them are pristine, and they're old fish. Obviously, like I said this morning, they're dinosaurs, really, aren't they? Yeah. So.
I've always thought as well, it's always, with all my fishing, I quite like the type of fishing where I'm holding the rod.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Obviously with carp fishing, the rods are in the rest.
Yeah, you're not really doing something, are you?
I've always liked either lure fishing or rolling meat.
Yeah.
Like the barbel.
It's active fishing.
Yeah.
You are active, and a lot of times when I am fishing, my head is forever moving. I'm looking for bait fish, looking for any sort of signs.
Yeah, what is your biggest sort of tip on location? That's the one, how do we find these big perch?
The best thing to do straight away would be Google, and have a look, see if you can find a lot of bait fish, obviously the roach, the dace and the gudgeon and stuff like that. If you can find their feed, do some research and find it.
What are you looking for on Google? You mentioned Google, so what's that, like where rivers join or where bridges are?
Yeah, structures or boats and weirs, locks, anything with structure in the right conditions. When it's cold, the fish will push the fish there. 100%.
And then you just got to get out there, right?
Yeah.
Do the legwork.
Yeah. So you just go out, you keep casting. You know they're going to be around the structure somewhere, and as long as there's a lot of bait fish, I'm dead sure there's going to be some big predators lurking somewhere.
What's happening there, Sam?
Well, I popped down just before work, come into dark, see if I can pull out another stripey or two, and thankfully I've got two absolute beauts, this being the biggest, and what a way to start the day, eh?
Sam, right? And that's the smaller one.
That's the smallest one.
You just said you'd be happy with that, right?
Definitely. Yeah, that's the smallest one. I would have been over the moon just to catch this, just to coming out just for a few minutes before work. And that, yeah, another banging fish, to be fair.
What an absolute legend Sam is. Obviously we want to thank him a huge amount for letting us follow him around and pick his brains. I hope you've learnt a few things. I know I certainly have. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe and all that stuff. Until the next one, look after yourselves and be lucky. Made for Hollywood. Zoolander.